Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. And for today's video I've actually gotten on the mountain bike because I'm wanting to punch on down this road. We're in Aberdeenshire, I believe this is, and we're actually at Glen Dye. And one time previously me and Highlander were on this track on foot, and along the way we found loads of cool like abandoned little crofts and what we thought was actually an abandoned settlement of sorts. So today I was wanting to push on further up this track here at Glen Dye and then like document basically any history that's there and see a piece of landscape we've never seen before. Today we're using the mountain bike to go across the land a bit quicker, and yeah, it's a cool wee action adventure folks, you know how it is on the channel. And I've been kind of avoiding the rain as well today. Like when I was on the way up here, the road was full of puddles and little floods. Not too bad, but it was enough. Like I was expecting a wee rainstorm potentially on this adventure. Yeah, look, that track continues on that way. I'm not sure where that goes. It could be a full circle. I should have actually looked at that sign at the road end. Anyway, I'm just going to punch on up. You know how it is on this channel, it's actually spontaneous. There's no set firm route, it's just basically explore until we find the coolest things folks. So let's get into action. I'll update you on some beyond areas that we've been before. Look at this beautiful landscape folks, and check out that high cliff on top of that hill in the distance. It's just such a prominent landmark. And this is a cool point on the land here, because this is actually as far as I've ever been. We came on foot as far as this area here, which is actually an old historical croft with a 1700s lime kiln. But today's adventure, we're basically away to explore this land beyond. And I can actually see the first thing, there's a wee croft up there. I don't think I'll be able to get to it today because the grass is so long, but I could try and have a wee look. There's like a croft or something over next to that tree. So who even knows folks, a croft's basically like a little farm. A little family would have stayed there with a couple of animals, sometimes a couple of cows, a couple of sheep, or a few sheep to get the wool. Back in those days, 1700's and stuff, these houses will be out on this hill. Maybe back at that time this would have been pretty much like a main road through the land, whereas now it's just a mud track on the lands of Glen Dye estate. Check out, next point of interest on the land, there's actually a big pond here, or a wee loch. And then at this side I can hear a noise, listen. There's like a roar coming from it, as if there's an extreme amount of running water coming under the ground there, or flowing somewhere. Another cool point, up ahead I can actually see the rooftop of a wee cottage, which I think is actually the Glen Dye Bothy. I think it's a place that folk can actually go to, obviously for shelter if you're out for a walk, or some people stay overnight in a place like that, which is pretty cool. So we'll have a look at that as we go past. Obviously if there's people occupying the wee Bothy, we'll have to be respectful and just head past, but if there's nobody there it'd be cool to have a wee look inside. Yeah, that's a Scottish water sign right there, I believe. Sometimes these little dams up in these hills can back up larger reservoirs in the lower lands. Oh, look at this folks, that's the path going up that way I think. But I was thinking the cottage looks like it's down here, maybe no. I'm just reading the lands as I go, it looks like I probably have to go up this hill now. I was thinking the path was just basically straight along here too. So now we're up above the dam here at the higher level on the track, and I can actually see there's concrete areas related to the dam there, and then in the river further down from the dam there's other like measuring units or concrete pieces, and that must be for measuring the flow of the water or whatever down the river, or I'm not sure how that works, but it must be a Scottish water related item. Look where we are now on this absolute madness folks, check out these hills in the far distance. It's like rolling heather hills as far as the eye can see in all directions, and this track's just cutting its way through. It's so cool in these videos, I'm able to take the camera along on my wee adventures as we discover these places together. And judging from the little cottage at the bottom of this hill, this must have been somebody's little house for a long time. A little community maybe in these glens back in the day. And then some of the areas we can see with the grass at the bottom of the hills may have been cleared originally for the odd little field of crops. So imagine in the ancient days of Scotland, this is what it would have looked like when you were approaching your house on your horseback. And look at this character of this wee cottage up here in the glen, folks. I do love it. I love a scene like this. Yeah, there's an interesting little bit there. I think it could even be some sort of water filter, maybe for the fresh water supply for this place. This has been a proper little croft here, because you see the cottage, but also look, there's the outbuildings, and there's even more remains of other buildings down here. This is the kind of thing I was hoping to find on today's adventure, because it's mad cycling away out here, and it actually looks like there's a way to be a rainstorm, so I didn't want to go really too far away into these hills and get stuck in a storm. This weekend, for all my adventures, I've been avoiding the worst of the rain and the winds. Look at the character of this, 1800's, it likely had that roof put on it. Yeah, I can see the doors as padlocked. Sometimes these are padlocked from the estates and only used for shooters and beaters. Who even knows? Let's have a little pokey in. Have a look at the front of this place, folks. We're rolling right in here on the push bike. Yeah, look, no fires. Yeah, it's totally locked up. It's cool still though to come here and document what we've seen. Oh, look, by kind permission of Fask Estate, and with the funding provided by the family and friends of the late John Whitley, this Bothy is now maintained by the Mountain Bothies Association. So shout out to the Mountain Bothies Association. Look, you need to have a double. Oh, that's how we look in, folks. We obviously come with respect of the Bothy and the Mountain Bothies Association. Oh, look at this. This is absolutely beautiful, folks. Wow. I love stuff like this. It's so peaceful the way out in these glens, so remote. The thing is, sometimes if you come to a Bothy, you're not always guaranteed when you get there that it's going to be available. Yeah, they've blocked up all the fires. Probably at one time you would have had the wee fire crackling. But stuff like that gets out of hand sometimes. You can understand the reason that they do that. Just think about this, before it was a Bothy, this would have been the little farm house here, and they would have had a cooking range in there, and sometimes also in those old houses they actually had a box bed, and it would have fitted in a space like this, and it was like a wooden box that you went inside, and that was the bed. And that's something I've not really mentioned much about on my channel either, the box bed. Sometimes I never remember. Look, there's a picture of it in the snow. These lands out here can get proper wild, and that's why wee houses like this, often if they are abandoned, they go downhill really quick. Let's keep it sealed up as we found it, folks. It's a double latch. Maybe if it comes on a thunderstorm on this adventure, I'm going to have to actually go in there. There we go, it's sealed up. There's the proof, folks. And yeah, what a beautiful scene. Once again, I'm imagining it back in the original days when this would have been the wee farmhouse. That would have been the sheds down there, and I think there would have been even more sheds there, which is now gone. We'll go and document the evidence of that now. Yeah, look at that. Often these little hill houses only had small windows just to let in a wee bit of light and to keep in the heat, because the winters used to be even more wild back in the old days of Scotland. But a house like this was probably built in the early days, and then it was updated and maintained, and often the roofs and stuff would have been kept to the latest modern standards. Original old stone slab roofs were taken off and the slates were put on. Sometimes in the 1800s, but certainly in the 1900s they would do that as well. Anyway, let's go down to these other wee buildings here. This has been totally epic to find this. Even if I couldn't have gotten into the Bothy there, it would have still been cool to tell the story of this wee croft. Whoa, I'm cycling with one hand here, going over like this bumpy terrain. I'm keeping the brake on. Look at the wee bridge up there. Wow, yeah, I'll update you once we get down here, folks, because obviously I'm riding the bike down the craziest little hill. In fact, we'll just keep it rolling. Let's keep the action going, folks. You know how it is on this channel. Spontaneous adventure. Look at that, there's one of the farm sheds to the left, and then look to the right, more ancient buildings, old ruins there of old constructions now gone. But also at the far side of that hollow there's actually another stone square area that's been levelled at an ancient time. Let's take a look in this wee shed. What do we have here? This is where the animals and livestock would have been kept. But also, probably if you were camping out in this glen, you could get a bit of shelter in here. It looks like the floor has just been like either animal dung or just kind of peaty earth. Wow, this is incredible. Look at that. Is that some kind of nesting box? Wow. Oh my goodness, folks. Stage up. Look, there's an owl. I'm not speaking right now, folks, because there's an owl sitting. Can you even see it on the camera on top of that wooden box? I'm not wanting to flag it. I'm waiting to leave the building. Hello. Hello, Mr. Owl. What we've got there is a barn owl, and see, I come with respect of the barn owl. That's why I'm leaving the building and no going in. It was just sitting there totally chilled out. I love barn owls, and I do see them quite a lot in the glens. Now that I'm looking over the other side of this bridge, I can actually see a stone outline there, and that must have been a field. There's now trees growing over there, but I think the crofts that we visit often on the channel, even like the last one up the back of the backwater, they often built little buildings and fields in areas, sometimes not right next to the farm. If it wasn't ideal for being level, or like sometimes it was quite boggy, they would often have a nearby field like over that distance away, because it was like the perfect condition, probably as well facing where the sun was shining from during the day. Anyway, let's keep this action adventure going. Look at the character of that. This is what you see up in Aberdeenshire and beyond, like it's granite. Down in Angus we see quite a lot of like sandstone. I was just hearing that noise, but it's actually an aeroplane. But yeah, look at that there, folks. Crazy outlines of old buildings, and you can kind of see how the doors have been going in. It's been 3 separate structures. Anyway, let's roll a bit further down into this hollow. The viewers are along on this adventure with me, folks. Wow, this is a nice smooth little bit of track, this. These bridges here are obviously far newer than back in the day of this croft. The river. Whoa. This is so cool, folks. We're fleeing along. That's the Scottish word for it. Look at that, there's an old weight block for a tractor made out of a 45-gallon drum. Yeah, I was wanting to come up here just to see the lie of the land and to see what they've done. Maybe it has just been simply a field. Wow, that's been so cool. Let's turn around now and get an aspect. Check it out, this is so cool to see that. The scene of Scotland. And imagine it when there was so much more. I should go and take a closer look at those little buildings at the left hand side before we leave the site, because it is so epic just to see so much. And obviously to come with respect to like the Bothy and the owl. This is the house of the owl, it's Highland Croft. So I've parked my bike at the owl's front door, and I could actually hear it bumping about or moving on its nesting box. And the reason that owl's in there at this time of day is because they're actually nocturnal. They go out hunting at night, and they've actually got incredible hearing, and that's the reason their head is shaped like a radar dish. It's to actually enhance their hearing. Whoa, look at this. We've made it over to the edge of here. I'm not wanting to go too hardcore into the long grass, but for sure I was wanting to come and document this. Yes, we've made it to history today, folks, and it's unexpected. I knew there was a Bothy up here, but I thought I would maybe just have to ride my bike past it and record it on the way. But instead we found this old history, and think how long ago these stones were put in. Ancient times, way before the 1800s. It's mad in Scotland to have that ancient history on display. In areas like this, this is actually prime adder territory, but today it's probably too cold and damp for them. But I'm still keeping one eye down to the ground just in case. Normally they wouldn't really attack you unless they felt threatened, but I don't like taking that risk. If you accidentally stand on one in the grass, it might feel threatened for sure. Yeah, what I've seen every year, the greenery and shrubbery just covers things like this up more and more. You can see how the lower walls are just about fully covered. Maybe in another 100 years or so, stuff like this will be hard, like even harder to see. Wee videos like this just keep the memory alive. A wee croft, a wee position, a wee family, you could say, positioned their house here on the land. A wee settlement, and that's been another little field on that level piece of ground there. Sometimes back in the day they were really clever with draining the land and creating little areas for themselves to have a farm. And that's the cool thing, you sometimes see the faint evidence of that nowadays. The way the water's like run off down to the river. Wow, this has been so cool. I've totally loved it, folks. I love adventures where I'm going to areas I've never been, and whenever there's something to be seen that I've never documented on the channel, I just love it. In Scotland it's so much fun to go on adventures and to keep exploring new places. Obviously I do have the trousers tucked into the socks today, and that's because there's a chance there's ticks and stuff kicking about in the ground. You should never take that risk in Scotland nowadays because they're just all over the place from the coast to the glen. Yes, anyway, let's leave this owl in peace. It'll hear me vlogging. It's maybe sitting there thinking, who is this guy that's come into my shed? So yeah, let's punch on up here a bit. Leave it in peace. There's some really large droppings there, and I'm not sure if that's like a fox or if that is the size of the owl droppings. So halfway up the Bothy hill here, you can actually see this little outline of stones running round, and it's like behind this shed there's been another little area here, or a field of some sort. Wow, there's actually a bit of heat in that sun. Whenever the sun comes out in Scotland at this time of year, it's like super humidity. I had my coat on just to, well, because you can what it's like. If you didn't bring your coat, you get caught in the rain. If you do bring your coat, the rain doesn't come on. It's just typical. Wow, yeah, look at this. The roof and stuff's in great condition. That probably is because they're looking after it to a certain degree. Unlike some of the cottages we go to, which are like fully abandoned. It is interesting too, because I found a Bothy recently at Invermark. And that's been 2 Bothys pretty much recently on the channel. The cool thing with this one though is it's got the history of the old Highland Croft along with it. Even more ancient history of the glen. This is another example as well of how in Scotland, one time it would have been like a farm with a farmhouse, and then as the years progressed it was only ever the house that was like updated and maintained. I'm out of breath after coming up that hill, that's why I'm total struggling to vlog. But what an angle of the history here. Everywhere you look in Scotland it's like a picture postcard. Wow. Anyway, let's head on back out here. What a cool adventure that's been. And I never know what to expect on my adventure. Sometimes when you go down a track, you don't know if it's going to be a house, a castle, a piece of wartime history, or some ancient Iron Age history, folks. It's all in Scotland, history from all times. Some cool wee artefacts from all those times left behind to tell the story. That's what we're all about on the channel here. And look, we've got the heather now flowering to the left hand side here. All the hills will be purple within the next month or so. So that's me just about back to my car, folks, and the rain has actually come on now. It's that drizzly kind of way. It's no super soaking, but still, if it's on for a long time like that, you do end up soaked. But yeah, we just timed it right to go and have that wee adventure. It's basically a Sunday morning adventure for me, and it's been so much fun to see what we saw today. We've documented history unseen on the channel, and had a wee adventure to that Bothy. Seen an owl, which was cool as well, and everything else along the way, folks. You know how it is on these spontaneous adventures. Anyway, I'm ending this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.